Hi, I'm Janice Friedman. I'm a faculty member at Queen's University. In the Friedman Lab, we're interested in studying the ecology and evolution of plant reproductive strategies. In particular, we're interested in how plants have adapted to new environments. The fields, forests, marshes, and other terrestrial areas at QUBS are an important part of this work and allow us to look at plants in their natural environment and also manipulate aspects of their habitat to test specific things about their pollination, life history, or reproductive biology.
Hi, I'm Claire, and I'm a master's student with the Friedman Lab, studying the evolution of wind-pollinated plants.
Hi everyone, I'm Isabeau. I'm the SWEP student with the Friedman Lab for the summer, and this is where we're working.
Hi, so currently I'm out here in the field. I'm sampling some grasses that flowered this morning, and I can tell you a little bit about my research project. So broadly, my master's is focused on understanding the evolution of wind pollination in flowering plants. So I think when a lot of us think of flowering plants and flowers, we probably picture something that's animal pollinated. And these usually have bright, colorful petals. They usually smell nice, and they're designed to attract some sort of animal pollinator, like a bee or a butterfly or even a bird or an ant. And I think maybe what a lot of us don't picture is something that looks like this. So this grass is a flowering plant. It has flowers, but they don't look anything like animal pollinated flowers. They're not designed to attract any sort of animal. Instead, they're designed to efficiently capture pollen from the airstream and disperse it into it. So this grass here is a great example of some wind pollinated flowers. So we can see, looking closely, that each one of these little flowers has these little white stigmas that stick into the airstream and help the plant capture pollen. And they also have these little pink anthers, and these kind of dangle out into the airstream and release pollen. So wind pollination is actually a derived trait. All flowering plants are ancestrally animal pollinated, but wind pollination has evolved multiple times across multiple diverse lineages in the flowering plants. And so there's a huge diversity of different floral shapes and forms across the wind pollinated plants. So I can show you a few more. So right here we've got this, a compact grass. So this grass here is another great example of a wind pollinated flower. So we can see in its inflorescence it's got these feathery white little stigmas and anthers that kind of dangle off into the air. And if you release it, you can see the whole inflorescence tends to move back and forth in the wind. And this helps it kind of smack pollen grains out of the airstream onto stigmas. And this is a great example of a wind pollinated flowering plant that's not a grass. So this is a rush that's flowering currently. And if you look closely, you can see that each one of its little flowers has 2 feathery purple stigmas and 3 little tiny black anthers that dangle off the ends. So for a long time, wind pollination was thought to be relatively inefficient compared with animal pollination. First, wind pollination does seem kind of unlikely, and like it would depend hugely on like the wind speed of a given day, on rainfall, on temperature, on humidity. And if we compare that to animal pollination, we have things like bees that tend to move directly from flower to flower. Also, wind pollinated plants tend to make a lot of pollen. And this would make sense if only a small proportion of those grains were actually reaching other flowers. But it seems like this might not actually be true at all. When you actually measure pollination efficiency, it seems like wind and animal pollination are actually quite similar. Also, wind pollination has evolved repeatedly across multiple independent lineages, so there must be cases where it's actually a beneficial strategy. So a large part of my project is focused on understanding the efficiency of wind pollination. So out here in the field, we're collecting flowers from a variety of different wind pollinated species from across QUBS properties in the greater Kingston area. And then we take these flowers back to the lab where we look at them under a microscope. And so using this, we can actually count how many pollen grains plants have captured on their stigmas and compare this to how many pollen grains the plants are making, to get an idea of how efficient or inefficient wind pollination really is.